Newcastle are living through chaos. Their attack broken. Their star striker Alexander Isak determined to leave no matter what.
You cannot allow this transfer to happen, no matter what it takes. Block it. You don't allow the player to leave, even if it costs you loads of money. Even if it means that the player will not play for you and goes on strike. Alexander Isak wants to play football. In a World Cup year, he needs to be scoring goals and playing football. I think that what Newcastle United need to do is show to the world that they are a serious club, and serious clubs do not sell their best players. Sometimes you need to make the statement to the world that you cannot come and take our best. Alexander Isak has signed a contract. He's tied to Newcastle United for 3 more years. He needs to honour that contract from a Newcastle perspective.
And without him, the team looked toothless and vulnerable. Eddie Howe has searched everywhere for a savior, but every name has slipped away. Liam Delap is gone. João Pedro was taken. Hugo Ekitike chose elsewhere. Benjamin Sesko vanished to another project. And one by one, every single target has fallen into the hands of the Big Six.
Benjamin Sesko yet has to decide where he wants to go. It's a shootout between Newcastle and Manchester United. What's the better project for you?
Newcastle, I think, because Newcastle comes with expectation.
It has been one of the worst transfer windows in Newcastle's modern history. A sequence of rejection after rejection that left the club staring at disaster. But from the ashes of this chaos, something unexpected emerged. Nick Woltemade, the German forward who scored 17 goals and 3 assists last season.
And Nick Woltemade, 23 years old, thanks. Stuttgart, big boy, great touch for a big lad. I think he would be good in the sense of having a Langer. So he looks like a striker, but he kind of plays more as a 10, really. He would be a really good fit for Newcastle because you could go, off you go Gordon, off you go Langer, and then you can make your way into the box. Scored 0.71 goals per 90 from 0.57 XG, so overperformed. They need 2.
Who finished as the top striker of the Under-21 European Championship, and who had Bayern Munich on their knees, offering 70 million to Stuttgart for his signature.
Nick Woltemade once more, the cross took a little deflection.
Newcastle raised the stakes and went higher, smashing their transfer record with a 90 million bid, and for the first time this summer, the answer was yes.
Big bomb of the evening of the night is from Newcastle. Reported by the Daily Mail, we can confirm it's a here we go. Nick Woltemade, the German striker who did a fantastic Euro Under-21, who did a fantastic second part of the season with Stuttgart, top target of Bayern for the whole summer, but then they said, okay, no, we can't do it, because Bayern offered 35, 45, 55 million euros, then everything rejected by Stuttgart, deal off. Stuttgart quite relaxed about Nick Woltemade staying at the club, thinking about a new contract, and then Newcastle appear. Newcastle with a secret mission made by the recruitment team in Germany to close the deal in 24 hours with a record deal, 85 million euros. Yes, 85 million euros for Nick Woltemade.
Now, Woltemade walked into St. James Park as the most expensive player in Newcastle's history, carrying the weight of expectation on his shoulders, but also bringing the raw firepower that the team desperately needs. And he will not walk alone, because beside him is Isak-Gordon, the fearless winger who last season produced 9 goals and 7 assists, terrorizing fullbacks and driving Newcastle forward when the rest of the attack fell silent.
Newcastle fans rising from their seats around us. Isak-Gordon!
Together, this partnership is not just hope, it is a weapon, a duo built to restore Newcastle's ambition, and if they ignite, they have the power to shut down the Premier League. Nick Woltemade, or as some fans have already started to call him, Wolt Messi, arrived at Newcastle off the back of the best season of his young career, a year where he proved he was not just a talent, but a star in the making. At Stuttgart, he first caught fire in the DFB Pokal, scoring in his very first start, and then continuing to score in every single game of that cup run, a streak that made the whole of Germany pay attention. His breakthrough moment came in the Bundesliga on December 6th, when he came off the bench at halftime against Union Berlin and scored twice, turning the match on its head. From that night, he was no longer a rotation player. He became a regular starter for Stuttgart.
Stuttgart looking to hit back straight away, Woltemade around the goal.
Woltemade finished the league campaign with 12 goals in 28 appearances, including strikes in each of the final 3 matches of the season. A run that showed not only his scoring touch, but also his ability to deliver under pressure when it mattered most. Even more impressive, he was the top scorer in the DFB Pokal, hitting 5 goals in 5 matches, including the opener in Stuttgart's 4-2 victory over Arminia Bielefeld in the final, a performance that cemented his reputation as a striker who shines on the biggest stage.
It's Nick Woltemade! On the big occasion, the big man delivers.
Such brilliance could not be ignored, and he received his first call-up to the German senior national team for the Nations League finals, making his debut against Portugal, a moment that marked his arrival on the international scene.
A real chance of the game. Woltemade and Pavlovic combining the latter.
And as if that wasn't enough, Woltemade dominated the Under-21 European Championship, scoring a hat-trick in the opening game against Slovenia and adding 3 more goals along the way to the final, finishing as the tournament's top scorer. By the end of the season, his name was on every scout's lips. Bayern Munich pushed hard with a 70 million bid, and yet it was Newcastle who stunned Europe by landing him for a record 90 million, making him the most expensive signing in the club's history.
Window for you for a number of reasons. Players coming in, players you've tried to get in, but how busy is the last few days, the last week been as you sort of furiously try and bring in a striker?
Yeah, I think the last month really has been the same. It's been relentless. This has been a demanding window in lots of different ways. The work going in has been detailed. It has to be. We have to try and bring the right players to the football club, and there's been a big effort from everyone behind the scenes to try and achieve that. So as I said earlier, we look like we're getting closer, but nothing is signed yet. But it's certainly moving in the right direction.
On a scale of 1 to 100, how much are you looking forward to it closing, the window closing on Monday night?
It'll be good because I think we can then focus on what we love to do, which is the training and the players that we have, and trying to build the team knowing that it's settled and all the emotion around the transfer window is gone.
This is how Woltemade arrived in England, not as a gamble, but as a proven goal scorer, a rising star who conquered Germany and Europe at youth level, and now comes to St. James Park to become the future of Newcastle's attack.
Start with big breaking news from Newcastle, who have completed their club record £69 million deal to sign forward Nick Woltemade from Bundesliga side Stuttgart. The 6'6", 23-year-old German international becomes Eddie Howe's 5th summer signing, and he has signed a long-term deal at St James's Park. He only joined Stuttgart last summer but scored 17 times in 33 games across all competitions, and he was also the top scorer at the recent Under-21 European Championships. He will wear the number 27 shirt and has had this to say today: "I'm really happy to be at this amazing club. From the first contact, I felt like the club really wanted me and had big plans for me. It's a big step in my life to leave Germany, but everybody has welcomed me so well and it already feels like family. I have a really good feeling from speaking to the head coach that this is the right place for me to find my best level. I know the stadium from watching games on television. It looks amazing, and I know the atmosphere is crazy. I'm really excited to play and start scoring goals here." As for the Newcastle head coach Eddie Howe, he said, "We're delighted to get Nick signing over the line so quickly. He fits the profile for exactly what we've been looking for to add to our attacking options. He is strong in lots of areas. He has great technical ability and has proven himself to be a real threat in one of Europe's top leagues. But he's also still in an age where he has plenty of room to develop and grow here." So the big question now is whether Alexander Isak will stay or make a late move to champions Liverpool. Newcastle are still in the market for another striker, and both Wolves forward Jørgen Strand Larsen and Brentford's Johan Wissa remain possibilities.
In the 2023-2024 season, Isak-Gordon became the heartbeat of Newcastle United, a player whose energy, pace, and work rate turned him into the perfect weapon for Eddie Howe's system.
When we signed him, we knew we were signing a player of huge potential, real ability, pace, technical ability, and I think the big thing for him recently has been he's been adding goals and assists.
Tall, quick, deceptively strong for his slender frame, and relentless in his pressing, Gordon represented exactly the kind of physical and mental profile Howe demands from his attackers, and he embraced the challenge with everything he had. His development was clear to see, not only in his ability to stretch defenses with his runs, but also in the way he improved his passing frequency and his impact when Newcastle lost the ball, constantly winning it back high and launching dangerous transitions. Few players in Europe that season were as consistent and making a difference as the young winger. The numbers tell the story. 11 goals and 10 assists in the Premier League, a goal contribution every 0.65 minutes on the pitch, and many of those contributions arriving in decisive moments when Newcastle needed them most. Gordon was no longer just a prospect, he was a game changer. Alongside Alexander Isak, he formed a dangerous partnership, a duo that terrified defenses with pace, movement, and finishing ability. Yet as Isak's intentions to leave became clearer, that partnership began to unravel, and the future Howe had envisioned was suddenly torn apart. But football is a game of cycles, of departures and arrivals, and where one story ends, another begins. Isak may be determined to walk away, but Newcastle have placed their faith in a new striker, Nick Woltemade, and now Gordon finds himself with a new partner, a new chance to form a duo that could lift Newcastle to heights the club have not touched in decades. No players in the Premier League inflicted more damage against the biggest clubs than Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak, especially at St. James Park. They were a torturous double act to face, quick, direct, and clinical, dropping deep or darting in behind. Even a defense as disciplined as Arsenal's could not contain them.
Yes! What a goal that is! What a cross! What a cross! That was a cross from the 90s!
When you had those two on the pitch, possession numbers didn't matter. Expected goals were irrelevant. They would hurt you no matter how many touches they had, no matter how many passes Newcastle completed, because their best trick was psychological. Give the opposition the illusion of control before tearing them apart in a single movement. The stats prove it. Since the start of the 2023-2024 season, against the so-called Big Six, the clubs who always start favorites to win the league or qualify for the Champions League, no one scored more goals at home than Gordon with 7. Right behind him was Isak with 6. Newcastle's wingers and strikers were not just dangerous, they were the most lethal duo in the country's most high-profile games. In the 2023-2024 campaign, Gordon and Isak combined for 36 goals and 17 assists, numbers that placed them among the most productive attacking partnerships in Europe.
Into Isak, brilliant feet, and Anthony Gordon there to tap in.
They followed up the 2024-2025 season with another 29 goals and 12 assists in the Premier League, scoring 42.6% of all of Newcastle's goals that year on their own. Tactically, the interaction between them was a perfect reflection of Eddie Howe's attacking vision. Gordon, with explosive pace, his cutting runs inside, and his relentless pressing was the spark. Isak, with his clinical finishing and intelligent movement in the penalty area, was the executioner. Together, they pulled apart defensive structures with ease, one stretching the backline and the other exploiting the gaps.
Because we're such a tight-knit group, so for that to almost... We've never really had any problems publicly, and that being the first thing that's happened, it's tested us, but you see today, we've still got that spirit, we've still got that togetherness, and, you know, we work on it every day. It's never going to go regardless of individuals, so we're a top group. Our togetherness is top, and it always will be.
Can something like this almost bring you closer together?
Yeah, it can do. But like I said, we're so together anyway, and I think, like you said, things like this can sort of battle test you and make you better in the end. I think that's good.
They were the embodiment of Howe's Newcastle. Fast, direct, brutal in transition, and merciless in front of goal. Nick Woltemade arrives at Newcastle as a very different striker to Alexander Isak, yet his profile may be exactly what Eddie Howe has been searching for. At 1.98 meters tall, his sheer presence is impossible to ignore, but his game goes far beyond his size. Last season with Stuttgart, he scored 17 goals in 33 matches, proving himself as a reliable finisher, while also finishing as a top scorer at the Under-21 European Championship with 6 goals. Unlike Isak, who thrived on raw pace, quick movements in behind, and devastating finishing, Woltemade is not a pure sprinter. Instead, his strengths are more versatile. He is comfortable dropping deep to link play, almost like a Harry Kane, and some even compare his style to Arsenal's Kai Havertz. He is creative, skillful, and surprisingly elusive for a player of his build, often catching defenders off guard with sharp touches and deceptive turns.
Breaking clear. It's filled on Woltemade. It's a wonderful run, and it's a
This makes his potential partnership with Anthony Gordon fascinating. Where Isak relied on Gordon's pace and dribbling to stretch defenses so he could strike in the box, Woltemade offers Gordon a completely different type of partner. He can hold the ball, drag center backs out of position, and create channels for Gordon to burst into, while also being a lethal finisher inside the penalty area. Gordon becomes the spear running in behind, while Woltemade can either feed him or finish the move himself. The dynamic changes from a duo built on speed and direct finishing to a pairing that can hurt opponents in multiple ways of height, strength, hold-up play, creativity, and still the deadly final touch. A front line of Woltemade, Gordon, and Elanga is youthful, explosive, and unpredictable, giving Howe tactical variety that simply didn't exist before. What stands out most is Woltemade's adaptability. He can play as a number 9, a second striker, even drift wide to open space for Gordon. That flexibility means Newcastle are no longer tied to one way of attacking, and it makes the duo more dangerous because they can switch roles mid-game. And while he may not have Isak's mobility, Woltemade's expected goal per shot of .17 shows that his scoring is sustainable, and with Howe pushing him further, scalable. If Newcastle can feed him consistently, his finishing touch inside the box could deliver even more than what Isak provided across 2 seasons. So here's the truth. Isak and Gordon were fast, ruthless, and feared. But Gordon and Woltemade could be something bigger, something harder to stop. Because this duo is not only built to score, but to dominate. And if they click, they will not just match the past, they will surpass it. Nick Woltemade has evolved rapidly over the past 2 years into a striker who is far more complete than his size suggests. At 1.98 meters, he looks like a classical target man, but his numbers and performance prove he is something else entirely. A penalty box finisher, a creator, and a link-up forward rolled into one. The radar shows his strength clearly. His box threat at 92 and goal threat at 84 put him among Europe's elite young strikers, while his shot quality at 72 confirms that when he does pull the trigger, the chances are high value. He doesn't shoot often, his shot frequency at 25 is low, but his expected goal per shot of .17 proves he is efficient and selective, making the most of his opportunities. In fact, last season he scored 12 Bundesliga goals, the best return of his career, with all but one coming from inside the box, highlighting his instinct to arrive in the right place at the right time. Yet Woltemade is not a simple finisher. His creative threat at 88 and link-up play at 87 underline how much he contributes outside the box. Among Bundesliga center forwards last season, he led the way in open play chances, creating per 90, 1.9, and his expected assists per 90, 0.25, matched Florian Wirtz, one of Europe's most celebrated playmakers. His ability to spot passes, create openings, and connect with teammates make him a rare kind of striker who can both score and provide. On the ball, he's graceful, even surprising for his size. His dribbling volume at 83 shows he is comfortable taking players on, ranking 6th among Bundesliga center forwards for dribble attempts despite playing fewer minutes than most. He averaged 9.8 carries per 90, movements of at least 5 meters, also ranking 6th among strikers, and his decision-making was mature. 4 of those carries ended in goals, second only to Jamal Musiala and Omar Marmoush in the entire league, and his 13 chance-creating carries nearly doubled his shot-ending carries, proof of his vision and intelligence. Defensively, he adds intensity. His front foot defending at 83 reflects his pressing contribution, and his aerial volume at 72 confirms he is active in duels, contesting 114 last season, ranking 13 among Bundesliga forwards. His success rate, 44.7%, shows there is room for improvement, but he's already more than just a tall target. What stands out is his maturity. When Stuttgart were down 2-0 against Union Berlin, he came off the bench at halftime and scored twice in 8 minutes. One goal created by skipping past the goalkeeper with a feint, and the other by controlling a through ball, losing his marker and finishing with composure into the bottom corner. From that moment on, he became a starter, featuring 17 times in Stuttgart's final 21 Bundesliga matches. 12 league goals might seem modest at first glance, but at a rate of 1 every 135 minutes, he was among the most efficient under-23 strikers in Europe, with only 3 bettering his return across the top 5 leagues. Add his 2.6 non-penalty shots per 90, and it becomes clear that Woltemade is not only a reliable finisher, but one who balances scoring with creativity, something very few strikers manage at this level. Essentially, the data shows a forward who blends height with subtlety, strength with skill, and goals with vision. Newcastle did not just buy a replacement for Alexander Isak. They secured a forward with the potential to become one of the most complete and versatile attackers in the Premier League. Eddie Howe stands at a crossroads. Newcastle's grand strategies have been ripped apart. First, by constant failures in the transfer market. Then, by Alexander Isak's refusal to stay and his self-imposed exile.
They are the Newcastle goals, the top scorers, since Isak made his debut, and look at his contribution to the cause. He's been such a big part of this.
The 3-2 defeat to Liverpool at St. James Park was more than a loss on the scoreboard. It was a brutal reminder of fragility, destructive in tempo, but even more self-destructive in discipline. The fallout has been severe. Anthony Gordon's 3-match suspension for violent conduct leaves Howe without his most dangerous wide forward. Fabian Schär's concussion stripped stability from the backline. Injuries to Sandro Tonali and Joelinton rip holes in the midfield. What was once a carefully drawn plan is now scattered like shrapnel across the season.
Isn't football mad? Newcastle kicking Liverpool all over the place, getting stuck in, as you do. There's nothing wrong with that. I like that physicality side of the game. And then anyone touches any of the Newcastle players, they were like rolling around. And Gordon, a prime example. You look at Gordon, he falls over, and he's running, kicking everybody, and then apologising afterwards. I didn't mean it. What were you doing?
I think he apologised because he knew it was a really bad one.
Of course it was a bad one.
And yet, amid the wreckage, the focus remains the same. Finding the striker who can carry Newcastle forward. Every other position has been addressed. Anthony Elanga brought in on the right. Malik Diaw added to the center back. Aaron Ramsdale recruited to push Nick Pope. Jacob Ramsey signed to refresh the midfield. The plan has been executed everywhere, but in the one role that matters most. That gap has now been filled. The striker brought in to cover the absence of Alexander Isak is Nick Woltemade, and he arrives at St. James Park full of enthusiasm, determination, and the expectation that he will inject fresh energy into the attack. Woltemade is not just another number 9. Newcastle do not simply need a body in the box. They need someone who can hold their fractured attack together. They need height and physical presence to trouble defenders. They need creativity to unlock defenses when Gordon is suspended or double marked. They need link-up play to connect a midfield that may be patched together with injuries and short-term fixes. Woltemade offers all of that. His ability to drop deep and create means Newcastle will not be one-dimensional, even if midfield options are thin. His penalty box instincts, 12 Bundesliga goals last season, and top-tier shot quality give them the reliable finisher they have lacked whenever Isak has been unavailable or unwilling. His size adds a dimension in the air, and his pressing intensity aligns with Howe's relentless system. For Howe, the next step is clear. Newcastle cannot rise to the very top with one piece missing. They need their midfield stabilized, yes, but the attack must have a focal point. With Woltemade stepping into the void left by Isak, Newcastle gain not just a replacement, but a striker ready to impose himself, bring goals, and drive the team forward with fresh ambition. If Howe can build the team's rhythm around Woltemade while managing the injuries and suspensions elsewhere, Newcastle will not just survive this crisis. They will emerge from it stronger, with a new duo at the heart of their attack and a clear path towards challenging the very top of the Premier League.